Hi, I'm Stan Stepnowski. I'm at the Clef Summer Program in 2023. I've been helping out with some of the sessions, and I thought I'd like to show you some of the things that I have been showing people about using capos. Now, often when a guitar player reaches for their capo, it's to transpose a song that's in some guitar non-friendly key like B flat, E flat, and so on into something a little more accessible on the guitar. But there's another application for the capo also, and that's to get yourself working in a different area of the fretboard than the guitarist next to you. And that way you're not competing for the same sonic space because you're using different frequencies on the guitar. So you could take a song that's in the key of C and put a capo on the fifth fret and play chords that are G-shape chords. So for example, your G chord, your G shape, capoed at the fifth fret, actually becomes a C chord because the notes that you're playing are either a C, E, or a G, and those are the notes of a C chord. Same thing with the C shape. Now you're playing F because all the notes that you're playing are either an F, A, or a C. So when you do that and you play along with another guitar player who's not playing a capo, playing with a capo, then you create a more interesting sound because you've got the lower notes, the higher notes, and you can build a more dynamic arrangement because of that, because you can do different things, and I'll demonstrate. So I'll go through a few songs that are in the key of C, where I've got a capo on the fifth fret here. For example, Holy, Holy, Holy. You could do something like this with it. Another example would be the song We Gather Together. It's in the key of C, no tricky chords, but when you add the capo to it and capo up high, then you get something like this. And another thing that this affords you is you can see, because when you capo up high, you can take the melody notes, transpose it up an octave, and those melody notes really become accessible in first position chords. It really falls under your fingers. Like for example, in this song, your first melody note is a G, and that's on the second string on the 8th fret, or just 3 frets above the capo. So it's easier to reach that when you play the bottom part of that G shape. And then that second melody note is an A, that can just be the open first string. And then your A minor is an E minor chord shape. The D minor becomes an A minor shape, and so on. And then if you're not able to read the music fluently, you just get yourself a chart of the fretboard and work out the chords with a chart on a piece of paper. So write them next to each other. C becomes G, F becomes C, and so forth. And then you can work out your melody notes. And it doesn't have to be traditional hymns either. Another song that this works well for is Bread of Life from Heaven. And how I like to do that involves another little bit of a capo trick, and that's when I take the capo and put it on the 3rd fret. It's in the key of C, but then I take a partial capo. Now this is a cut capo. It's not as long as a regular capo. It's a little bit shorter here, and what that does is it lets the 6th string go through. And so it's sort of like having a drop D tuning, and if it doesn't make sense, I'll demonstrate right now. So what I have here is the capo, the full capo on strings 1 through 6 on the 3rd fret, but here at the 5th fret, I'm only capoing strings 1 through 5, and that low 6th string is a G being held down at the 3rd fret here. So what it does, if I make a D shape here, I get a nice drop D sound, as if I had taken this 6th string and tuned it down from an E to a D and was only capoed here. So that lets you get some nice low notes. For example, in this song, Bread of Life from Heaven, now some things here to keep in mind is that you can actually capo, or you can fret right here at the 5th fret behind the capo to get this A. So it still is better, in my opinion, than doing a drop D tuning where you'd actually have to reach 2 frets higher for all of your notes on the 6th string. So it gives you that ability to get that nice low sound. Another situation where this works well is if you're playing a song in the key of F, where you would normally capo at the 3rd fret. I put the full capo on the 1st fret, and then put this partial capo, this cut capo, on the 3rd fret. And then when I'm playing in F and playing key of D shapes, I get that low F being fretted at the 6th string 1st fret. Instead of this being my lowest note, I get that nice rich F, which makes arrangements in this key work out a lot better. For example, there's one more thing I want to show you, and instead of the cut capo version, there's another type of capo that's called a cut capo or a partial capo, and that is this little guy, which is even shorter, and it's only designed to hold down 3 strings. You can put it on the guitar in one of 2 ways, and I'll show you. Most people put it on over the top of the guitar. Now this one's made by Shub, but Kaiser is another capo company. They make a version. There are other capo companies that make this too. But when you put it here over the top of the guitar, you're holding down the 3rd, 4th, and 5th string, and what you get is an E sus4 chord, which, if you've ever heard of the open tuning DAD-GAD, D-A-D, G-A-D, it's a whole step above that. The advantage of using this is that, one, you can do it instantly without having to retune, and also if you play anything above the capo, you don't have to readjust your fingering. But if you play a chord and you leave some open strings, then you get these beautiful sounds that mix really nicely with what you're playing that you normally wouldn't be able to do without a capo. For example, Open My Eyes. Just like we were able to mix the full capo and the drop D capo, you can mix this partial capo with a full capo as well. And usually I put it on 2 frets above. So for example, this will let me play things in the key of F quite easily. Oh, I forgot to mention, the other way to put it on is this way, around the bottom. So basically it's making like the shape of an A chord. So if I make the bottom part of a G chord here, I can get those notes. So if I'm playing something, it's fun to just play with. Okay, so the last example I wanted to show you was another newer song. This is called We Belong to You by Trevor Thompson. So, capoing can be a wonderful creative tool to use to create fingerstyle arrangements with, and it doesn't have to be a chord melody like the way I've been playing. You could just use it to get different tones in your chords, even if you were to just strum, for example. So you get that nice open tuning kind of sound. So I hope that helps you and inspires you and gives you some things to try out with your choir. Thanks.